My husband lost his job, so I took extra shifts, nights, weekends, even holidays. One night, I came home and found a woman's purse on the couch. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're never here."
She is.
I felt my knees give out. The next morning, all my clothes were in black bags by the trash. My son watched from the window. I took one bag, walked away, and this happened 2 years ago. I haven't told anyone the full story because it's hard to talk about without feeling like I'm losing my mind. But I think I need to get it out. It started when my husband, Paul, got laid off. He worked in roofing and general construction. The company downsized after losing a few major contracts. He came home early one Thursday around 3 p.m. and just stood in the kitchen looking dazed. I asked what was wrong, and he said, "It's over. They let me go." I remember putting down the groceries and hugging him. He didn't cry or anything, but he looked like a balloon that had just lost all its air. That night, he barely spoke. We had dinner. Our son, Jacob, who was 9 at the time, didn't seem to notice much. Paul told him that Daddy was going to be home more for a while. Jacob smiled and said, "Cool. We can watch movies after school." I went to work the next morning like usual. I'm a nurse, mostly evening shifts, but I picked up an extra Saturday at the last minute. Money was tight now, and we had a mortgage, groceries, gas, school stuff. I figured Paul would bounce back. He always said, "Work's never far if you know how to hustle." Weeks went by, then months. No job. No applications as far as I could see. He'd wake up late, hang around the house, sometimes go out for interviews that didn't sound real. I'd ask how they went, and he'd say things like, "They're keeping me in mind," or "It wasn't a good fit." Meanwhile, I started working more. Nights, weekends, doubles. I did Christmas Eve and New Year's. Missed Jacob's school concert. Missed Thanksgiving dinner. My mom dropped off food the next day. Paul didn't seem grateful. He got quiet, distant. He'd snap over small stuff, laundry not folded, dishes in the sink. One night, I asked him if he was okay. He said, "You wouldn't notice either way." That stung, but I brushed it off. I thought he was depressed. I thought maybe I was doing something wrong by not being home more. But I was holding everything together. Every shift, every bill, every single damn responsibility. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was a Wednesday. I worked an overnight shift and picked up coffee on the way home. I wanted to surprise Paul and maybe just talk for once without either of us being half asleep or stressed out. It was around 1:30 in the morning. I walked in through the side door. The living room lights were on. I remember thinking that was odd. And there it was. A woman's purse. Right on the couch. Tan leather. Big gold zipper. Not mine. I froze. My heart actually stopped for a second. I walked closer. There was a pink scarf next to it. One of those silk ones. Her phone was half out of the bag. Lip gloss. I looked around. Paul walked in from a hallway, shirtless, and just stood there like he'd been waiting. He didn't look surprised. Or caught. He looked irritated. I asked, "Whose is that?" He stared at me.
No guilt. No panic.
Just cold. "You're never here," he said. "She is." I don't even remember dropping the coffee, but I must have. The cup was shattered on the tile, and my knees gave out. He didn't move. Just turned and walked back down the hall. I don't know how long I stayed there. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. Eventually, I went upstairs. The guest room door was shut. I didn't open it. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to see her face. I just went into my son's room and sat on the floor for a while. He was sleeping. His little hand was sticking out from under the blanket. I didn't wake him. The next morning, all my clothes were in trash bags. Black ones, lined up by the garage. I hadn't said a word yet. Not to him. Not to her. Not to Jacob. I went to grab a sweater from the closet. It was gone. I opened one of the bags and saw it stuffed between old shoes and my work pants. He'd already packed everything, like he was waiting for me to leave. I looked up and saw Jacob at the window, watching me, not crying, just looking. I grabbed one bag, the one with my scrubs. And I walked.
Didn't say goodbye.
Didn't ask for anything. Just walked. I walked for about a mile, dragging that bag. It was raining a little. Light drizzle, cold. I didn't have my jacket. He stuffed it in a different bag, I guess. I ended up at a gas station. Sat on the curb behind the dumpster and cried until my head hurt. Called a friend from work, Carla. She came with her boyfriend's truck and drove me to a cheap motel near the hospital. It smelled like bleach and wet carpet, but it had a lock and a bed. That's all I needed. The first few days, I didn't go to work. I told the charge nurse I was sick. I wasn't lying exactly. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop shaking. I kept replaying his words. You're never here.
He meant it.
He decided I wasn't part of his life anymore. And what scared me most wasn't the affair. It was how easily he erased me. Like I was a tenant who overstayed their lease. A week later, Carla brought me a duffel bag with some more of my things. She'd gone to the house while Paul was out and grabbed what she could. Inside the bag was something I hadn't expected, Jacob's drawing. The one he made last summer. It was of our family. Stick figures with names. Mom, Dad, me, and Bubbles, our old cat. He had drawn a sun in the corner with a smiley face. I stared at that drawing all night. Then I made a decision. I went to the school. I waited in the parking lot until school let out. I just wanted to see him. Maybe wave. Let him know I was still alive. He walked out with his backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes on the ground. Then he saw me.
He froze.
I waved. He didn't wave back. Just turned and walked fast toward a silver SUV. She was in the driver's seat. The woman. Her.
She didn't look at me.
But her hand reached over and locked the doors when I took a step forward. I didn't chase them. I couldn't. I just stood there. Later that night, I got a call from Paul. First time since I left. He didn't ask if I was okay. Just said, don't come to the school again. It confuses him. I told him, he's my son. I carried him for 9 months. You don't get to erase me. He said, well, you made your choice. And then he hung up. Like I had walked out on them. Like I left. After that, I started documenting everything. I saved texts, took notes on calls, recorded dates and times I saw Jacob. I knew I'd need it all. Because I was going to court. But here's where it gets worse. A month later, I'm served papers. He was filing for full custody. And in the complaint, he claimed I had abandoned the family and was mentally unstable due to extreme work stress. He actually used my job against me. Said my long hours showed I wasn't fit to parent. Said Jacob was better off in a stable, emotionally secure household.
With them.
I sat in my motel room, holding that paper, and just laughed. One of those hollow laughs that ends in tears.
He had planned this.
All of it. He didn't just fall into an affair. He didn't just get tired. He built a case. While I was working double shifts, he was setting me up to look like the bad guy. I hired a lawyer. A woman named Dana, who'd been through a divorce herself and didn't blink when I told her what was happening. She looked over the custody papers and said, he's playing dirty, but we've seen worse. The hard part was proving I hadn't abandoned my son. I had to show pay stubs, shift records, even text messages with coworkers just to prove where I was and why. My work hours, ironically, became my defense. Dana filed a countermotion. Demanded joint custody and child support. Paul didn't like that. That same week, I started getting calls at work, anonymous ones. Just heavy breathing or silence. One night, someone keyed Carla's car in the hospital lot. The next night, someone left a note on my windshield. You should have stayed gone.
No signature.
I brought it to the police, but they shrugged. No proof who did it, they said. I knew it was him. Or her. They wanted to scare me. Make me back off. But I didn't. Court was scheduled for February. In the weeks leading up to it, I saw Jacob twice. Supervised visits in a community center with toys and one-way mirrors. He was quiet. Wouldn't look at me much. I brought his favorite snack, Cheez-Its and apple slices. He pushed them away. The second visit, he asked me, why did you leave me? I didn't know how to answer that. I told him. I never wanted to leave. I was pushed out. He just blinked and looked down. She said you didn't love us anymore. I almost stood up and screamed. But I didn't. I smiled and said, "That's not true, baby. I love you more than anything." He looked at me for a long second. I think something shifted. Not much, but enough. He let me hug him before he left that time. Then came court day. Paul showed up in a new suit. She was there too, sitting in the back, wearing all black, like she was at a funeral. Maybe she thought it'd make her look serious, respectable. He took the stand and lied through his teeth. Said I was cold, absent. Said I made him feel like a single parent. Dana tore into that. She showed time cards, pay records, messages from Jacob's teachers about who was attending conferences, me, who signed report cards, me, who paid for field trips, me. Then I took the stand. I told the truth. About everything. About the hours, the holidays missed, the nights I worked until dawn. I said, I did all that to keep her home running. To give my son food and a bed. I never thought I was choosing work over him. I thought I was choosing him over everything else. I was shaking. My hands were ice cold. And then Dana dropped the bomb. She brought out photos. One of the neighbors had taken them. Time-stamped, dated. Paul kissing the woman. Outside the house, while Jacob was playing in the yard. The judge looked at those for a long time. He granted me joint custody. But that wasn't the twist. The twist came 2 weeks later, when Jacob came to stay with me for the weekend. He came in carrying his backpack, sat on the couch, and said, "Daddy told her to stop talking about you. He said she's not my mom." I froze. He looked at me, dead serious. She was crying. He yelled. Said you'd come back and ruin everything. And that's when I knew. Paul wasn't loyal to her either. She was just convenient. Disposable. Just like me. Now, every other weekend, I pack a small bag and wait by the door for my son to arrive. We eat dinner. We talk a little more each time. But there's always this silence between us, something I can't fix with food or words or time. And sometimes, after he falls asleep, I sit in the hallway outside his room and just listen to him breathe, trying to believe that being here now can still mean something. But the truth is, even when you win in court, there's no real winning. Not when your child has to ask which version of the story is true.